my brothers and sisters, and my beloved confreres. These days, I am a bit confused about the definition of love. I ask myself the question, what really is love? When I was a little child, I used to define love as smiling at someone who smiles at me. When I became a youth, I began to define love as giving something to someone whom I hold dear to my heart. But at this age of my life, I'm a bit confused about these definitions that I have given for that word, love. What is love for me today? For me, today, loving is being. Being near to someone who is so close to my heart. It is the presence and the experience of the other just close to me. I was really touched by one picture that I saw recently in the WhatsApp. An elderly couple sitting in a park holding the hands of each other. No verbal expressions, not even facial expressions, but hands that are held together. There is no word, not even a movement. They are in love. Nearness of the other and to be near the other is the greatest desire of a human being to express his love. And that's where I begin to look at the gospel of the day. A very hearty welcome to each one of you to the 29th Sunday of the liturgical year, where we encounter a specific incident mentioned by Mark the Evangelist about two of the disciples of Jesus, the sons of Zebedee, James and John. They come to Jesus today making a demand of him, telling him, Lord, in your kingdom, you should permit us that one of us sits at your right and the other at your left. A very great demand. It's not even a request. They are making a demand here. What gave them that freedom to express this desire and demand it from Jesus? Perhaps they already felt that Jesus considers them a bit higher in relationship. You can see in the Gospels that when Jesus went to raise the daughter of Jairus from death, he took James and John along with him and Peter the apostle. Also at the time of the transfiguration, we find these three disciples together with Jesus. They are the only three people whom Jesus gave special names and not to any other disciples. So they already felt that nearness of Jesus, but they come with a specific messianic understanding which they have subjectively for themselves, that the kingdom that Jesus is going to establish is a kingdom of a peripheral level. That's why now Jesus begins to teach them what the true messianic kingdom is. He puts three conditions before them. First and foremost, you must be able to suffer. Secondly, you should know it is not my decision to allow someone to sit at my right or my left. It is the decision of the one who sent me. And thirdly, following me and having a discipleship of mine means to serve the other. Yes, Jesus very clearly tells them the understanding of suffering is part of the messianic kingdom. That's why he specifically uses that word chalice and also that word baptism. Chalice is a sign of suffering, and the whole sum of Jesus' suffering is mentioned as he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Chalice, the totality of my suffering. Are you able to partake in this? Are you able to be baptized with the baptism that I have undergone? That is, being immersed in the water and suffer that suffocation with me? And these disciples confidently tell, we are able to do that. From a practical point of view, we must read the foolishness of it. Perhaps a few days after that, they run away from the presence of Christ as he was drinking that chalice in the Garden of Gethsemane. But at the same time, Jesus foresaw the possibilities of these disciples. James was the first martyr among the disciples. They stood firm and got baptized in the person of Christ and thus became true disciples who loved Jesus, deserving a place at his right and left. My brothers, my sisters, we are called today to a new understanding of discipleship as well as the meaning of loving. We see already a division happening among the disciples, and sadly, all these divisions are happening at a time when Jesus is teaching them higher realities of his life, that he is setting his face towards Jerusalem, and there he has to suffer, die, and then comes the resurrection. As he is teaching all these things, they are divided among themselves regarding trivial things. The demands of these disciples make the other disciples angry. And they say, perhaps within themselves, what we were about to ask, they already asked. Now what shall we do? It is here that Jesus comes out with that new meaning of diakonos. The one among you who would like to be served must become a servant of the other. Service, my brothers and sisters, is self-giving. In the context of the Gentile world, service means being at the table of the master, serving him the food. Perhaps one of the lowest duties entrusted to a slave. Is here that we need to understand. When Jesus calls you and me to serve him, he means giving up your whole self for the other. And I understand we need to practically define this concept of service, diakonos, as a servant who goes out to serve someone else. It's not merely sympathy, it's an empathy. Sympathy is something that happens when a person feels sorry for the state of someone else. But empathy means involving in that struggle of the other and becoming partakers in their struggles. My brothers and sisters, are we today ready to become truly Christians who love the other? When I see the picture of a man eating the carcass of a dog during these COVID times, do I sympathize with him, or do I throw myself out in order to go out there and to serve the poor who are suffering outside? When I see people who are dying due to this pandemic, do I merely express my sympathy, or do I give a time to attend to the needs of others? When I see in my family people who struggle due to lack of love, do I have the guts to go to them and hold their hands and say, I am with you? Becoming diakonos, a deacon, a servant who serves the other, is a Christian challenge for you and me today. Yes, my brothers and sisters, let us become clear about the teaching of Jesus. I believe the demands of the sons of Zebedee was not wrong. Spiritually, it means to be near Jesus without anyone coming between you and your Jesus. Have you the guts today to demand from the Lord, can I sit at your right and at your left? Amen.